Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Beer and Money's return to Blog Talk Radio as part of the PWP Nation Network. I am your host, John JCD Dimiceli. Toph's going to join me shortly. We're going to get into a lot. It appears PWP Nation is back on Blog Talk Radio. There's so many great different shows and podcasts that we have on our network. Offended, the Jay Aletto Show on Periscope, Super Kicking It with Kelsey. So there's a lot of great stuff. Plus, check out pwpnation.com for so many great articles, news, editorials, and especially with WrestleMania season upon us, it is going to be a busy, busy time. So I'm going to get started on something that I just saw before Toph gets on, and does it deal with one of my favorite little Nimrod people, Pete Rosenberg. What a guy, let me tell you. Apparently there's a story that Jerry Lawler told on his podcast that on Sunday at the Royal Rumble, Mark Henry apparently confronted Jerry Lawler because little sensitive Petey thinks Jerry Lawler doesn't like him, and instead of going up to Lawler like a man, he had Mark Henry do his dirty work. Pete Rosenberg is also the same idiot who thought War Machine was one person. He has heat with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. From what I read, that spot on the pre-show where Owens and Zayn refused to answer questions from Rosenberg was not scripted. That was real. That's why Lawler had to jump in. I've said this a million times. I've said this on some shows that also don't air on this network anymore because the hosts are just a bunch of, whatever. That Pete Rosenberg is a fraud. He's a hypocrite. He's the worst kind of media personality there is, because anything he says or does when confronted, he hides behind the aspect of he was doing it for the show or he was doing it almost quote-unquote in character. Pete Rosenberg should get hit by a bus and left to die in the middle of New York City. So, that's how I feel about that. Shocker, another instance of Rosenberg being a little bitch. God, I wish JBL would have just clotheslined him from hell on that Bring It to the Table show before it got canceled. So, what else do we have going on? I'm waiting for Toph. Here's the plan. We're going to go about 90 minutes. The plan is to go over. I want to go over this Ronda Rousey hate. Whether it's real, whether it's not. If it is real, who the hate should really be directed at. Of course, the obvious NXT, WrestleMania direction. Not going to go too much into the Rumble. I feel that speaks for itself. That's probably been done. It's Friday, so, that's been done to death by now. Same thing with Raw, same thing with SmackDown. I do want to get into John Cena. I think that's a little bit of an interesting character where it looks like they may be going with him, and it started Sunday at the Rumble, and it looks like it really escalated on Raw. Cena, we may or may not get into something that was taped last night at NXT. I don't know if I want to go spoilerish on everybody will see. Also, and of course, the latest in New Japan and the never-ending will he or won't he, what's Kenny Omega going to do? I wrote a great article on PWP Nation that was supposed to get a reply article done to it, but I don't remember who was supposed to do it. But as far as, why January of 2019 is the perfect time for Omega to go to WWE, I really want to wait for Toph, and here he is. Let me grab him. Hey, Chris, you there?
Yeah, and I'm just here looking at the biggest heel turn of the year so far, that damn groundhog.
Hey, don't tell that to my son. My son was going around for 3 days asking when the groundhog was going to come.
Yeah, I figured he wouldn't see his shadow. It's been pretty cold this year.
Hey, Chris, sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. So, yeah, the groundhog, right? 6 more weeks, supposedly.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, this is one of the few winters in a long time where it's actually been cold, like, almost everywhere, like, throughout the whole country. So I figured that he wouldn't see his shadow. I'm actually not used to it being cold. I mean, it's not like, crazy snowing like it is up there, but it has been, like, very noticeably, like, actually cold.
You want me to be honest with you? You want to know what's worse than the cold and the snow? Because, listen, I'm in New York. It's to be expected. It's the 51 degrees one day, and then, like, the 22 the next. And then that's where it's like I'll give you a perfect example. Next week, I think Tuesday's going to be in the high 20s. Wednesday's going to be 52. And then Thursday's going to barely be in the low 30s. And I think there's snow. Like, that's where it gets crazy.
That's how people get sick. That's probably why the flu's so bad this year.
Yeah, it's brutal. Both my kids had it. It's brutal. It's brutal this year. I mean, and getting that Tamiflu stuff has been damn near impossible to get. So yeah, it's been brutal this year. What else going on? Everything good by you?
Oh yeah. Everything's normal. Everything's good. What about you? Everything all right with the kids and wife? Everything?
Yeah, just like I said, everyone being just fighting off everyone being sick, but everything's good. So can't complain there. So
that's
all
cool.
right. So
really good to be back on Block Talk. I always like Block Talk.
I was really happy when Jay said he was bringing this back. I feel like there's more you could do with it. I mean, Talk Show's good and all, but Talk Show was pretty simple as far as like broadcasting. Like even getting the shows, out there like onto the speaker was such a chore with Talk Show that it was really hard. At least this will be better. So I like it. I was very happy to hear when Jay brought it back, and he brought it back for a great reason, to get that Enzo Accuser kid on that interview. So that was good. Yeah, very happy to be back on Blog Talk. So do you want to go New Japan first?
Yeah, sure. Let's go through them first.
Okay. You and I haven't talked about this much since it happened. Everything that went down with Omega and everything that's going on with him and Ibushi and the letter he put, or the statement, whatever you want to call it, he put out, I think this is all being accelerated. I think the letter was kind of like, this is my agenda for the next 11 months, and this is kind of like my bucket list before I go. That's what I took away from it. And I've had people tell me they agree with me, and I have people tell me, no way, that, I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. You know where I stand with this. You know that I think he's going. I think the fact that he only signed like a 3-week extension. Like, that was the other thing too. Like, everyone made a big deal. Oh, he signed. Look, he signed. But he only ended up signing like a month-long extension, because the original deal goes until I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the original deal go through the end of this year? Wasn't that the whole thing, that him and the Bucks were signed? Like, the Bucks signed their ROH deal 2 years from December to December.
They set it up where they set it up where all of them would have their stuff expire around the final battle of this year, and so now the new extension will allow them to work Wrestle Kingdom 13 and New Year's Dash, and probably the New Beginning show, because the New Beginning is like late January, but pretty much from February and onwards, that's it, unless another extension were to show up. So
right.
There's a lot of interesting stuff going on right now. Firstly, with Jay White, his push right now is very, very similar to Okada's, and I'm not sure if that was done on purpose or not, because when Okada's TNA run didn't work out because he was with New Japan and, they sent him on an excursion, that was when TNA and New Japan had a better relationship back then. And, after the Okada failed flop run in TNA, he came back to New Japan as Okada, and his first match was actually at a Wrestle Kingdom against Yoshihashi. It was a very underwhelming match. It wasn't very good. But New Japan didn't let that deter them. And so then he had another great second match, which was against Tanahashi, and that match against Tanahashi just happened to be where he beat him out of nowhere. And it just sort of worked. And so Jay White's kind of similar. Yeah, he had a match against Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. It wasn't very good. Fans are still kind of debating about it.
How much of that was, to be fair though, how much of that was the fact that Tanahashi's been working hurt for a while?
Right. I think it was him being hurt, and I think a part of him also just didn't really seem to be motivated for that match in particular. I thought his match with Omega was much better. I can definitely see them wider pushing him. I know New Japan is going to be touring Australia soon. They're trying to get this expansion thing off the ground. So Jay would be really good.
They're going to position him as one of the bigger guys for that tour?
Right. They're going to be going to Australia soon, and they're also trying to get...
Hang on a second. That's fine and dandy, but let me ask you this. They're coming back for Strong Style in March.
Right, and it's already sold out.
Yeah, they sold out 5,000. Is he really, and I know Omega's going to be on that show, you'll probably get Okada, you'll probably get Naito, the Bucks, you'll get Cody, but I mean, the whole point, and this is what I took away from what they did last year, the whole point of putting that belt on Omega was to make Omega the New Japan face of America.
Right.
I'm sorry, but this
That's
is not a knock on
Jay.
Right, and this is not really a knock on Jay White. But I'm sorry, but I'm not looking at White as that guy.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. They're doing the same thing with
But hang
Jay.
on a second. Look at it. Let's look at it like this. And this is where I always looked at a guy and his position and his ability to draw. Let's say Okada, last year, let's say Cody Okada didn't happen on that show. Okay? Omega still would have carried that show. Okay?
Right.
I think that's a fair assessment. So now, let's say Omega and Cody weren't going to be on this show for whatever reason. Cody has an ROH obligation, Omega... whatever, his passport situation's not going to be worked out. Is Jay White going to be a guy that you're going to look at to carry the top end of that show in California? I don't think he is.
I don't think he would be the focus anyway. I think they're probably going to do Jericho
But that was the whole point
there.
of that title.
The whole point of the title is to establish a U.S. division. But I think Naito Jericho is going to happen there.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen there too. I think we're going to get. Here's what I think. I think we're going to get Jericho Naito there, and I think we're going to get Omega Ibushi and the Bucks there.
Yes.
I think they're going to save. I think they're going to save Omega Cody for Japan. I don't think they're giving us that here.
Yes, I think what's going to happen with Jay is. I think that they're going to most likely, my prediction is that they're going to use the New Japan Cup for Jay this year, because the New Japan Cup is the very short King of the Ring elimination style tournament with 8 people, and then whoever wins that can challenge a champion of their choice. And normally the winner of that would challenge the world champion or, the IWGP title, but I have a gut feeling that the winner will challenge the U.S. title, which will then put more focus on the belt and Jay. What's confusing me right now, it's really interesting. Gato is a really interesting booker. I never realized this, but I actually thought about it, and I was like, oh, okay. So, the thing about Gato that he's really good at is he's really good at, getting you interested in matches that would ordinarily, like, if it was to take place in a different promotion, you would probably look at it like as a kind of a filler title defense.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been going on with Okada is he's been acting like more heelish lately, and Sonata's going to be the one next in line to get a title shot. So on paper, I'm like, okay, yeah, that'll be a good title defense. But, LOL, Okada wins. Then Okada brought it to our attention that Sonata doesn't talk. And I was like, really? And I thought about it, and I'm like, he's right. He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk. And so what he did was he attacked him, and then he put the dollar bills in his mouth. And I'm like, that was kind of mean. That was kind of a heel thing to do. And so now Sonata is starting to talk. And so now there's actually a lot of fans that are predicting like a crazy upset, like Sonata beating Okada. I don't think that'll happen.
No offense to Sonata, but no.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen, but it'll probably be a breakout performance for him, I think. And of course, him adding Jay White
like
to the faction.
35 minutes, and then you think he'll carry him like 35 minutes. They get close, and then LOL Okada wins. Right. So that's happening. Him adding Jay White to the group when Jay's definitely not like really a face. But is Jay
Okada
White?
laughing.
I always looked at it as Jay White
like a double agent, sort of. That's what it kind of reminds me of a little bit, really.
Sorry about that, Chris.
That's okay.
No, like I was saying was, I don't know if am I understanding? But I thought the whole gist was White wasn't really with Okada. It was kind of like, I'm gonna do this for you, and then when the time comes, I'm gonna come for that, meaning the title.
Here's his story. It's really interesting. I saw his video. He has a New Japan has like their own YouTube account where they upload like the music videos for each wrestler, and Jay White's music video or his entrance video is very strange at first glance. He looks like a reject from Twilight. He's in this room that's like full of strings, and he has like a scissor, like he's Edward Scissorhands, and he's like just cutting through strings. It's a really strange video, and people don't really understand it, but now it's like, okay, I'm getting it. So here's his character. He's basically like he's almost like a Lex Luthor character. He just has to work a little bit on his promo work. He's got to work on it. So his character is this. Jay White, the character, he thinks he doesn't like factions. He doesn't like factions in New Japan. The reason he doesn't like factions is because he says that in a wrestling promotion, and I don't know if it's a shoot or if it's a character or both, he says that if you're a wrestler, you should challenge whatever title that you're interested in. But he believes that people that are in factions do not challenge a champion if they're in the same faction as them, if that makes sense. And so he believes that if you take a title off of a holder and a faction, the true colors will show. So he joins Chaos not because he wants to be part of a group. He joined Chaos to use the Bullet Club as an example. He said, I'm going to take the belt from Omega, and as soon as I take the belt from him, they're going to turn on each other. And that's exactly what happened. So he beats Omega, and then the moment he beats Omega, Adam Page comes out to challenge for the belt, which further proves Jay White's point. So Adam wanted the title all along, but he waited for Omega to drop it.
Right.
And so Jay's like, if you really wanted the belt, why didn't you just challenge Omega while he was the champion? But no, so the fact that Adam came out is Jay White trying to imply that you wanted Omega to lose. You didn't want him to be champion anyway. And so Jay's like, that's not a real group. Like you guys hate each other. Like it's all a facade. And so then he brings up Ishii, how like Ishii beat Okada in a G1 match like 2 years ago, and he never got his singles one-on-one match, which is true. Or how Goto is content with being never openweight champion because he challenged Okada a few years ago and lost. And Okada said, hey, if you want a rematch, anytime. So Jay's pretty much like, if you're in a faction, you should challenge whoever. You shouldn't hold back. So he joins the group, and he says that his main priority is to kill the Bullet Club. And then he said, once I kill the Bullet Club, Okada, just so you know, you're next. And so Okada's like, lols. So he's like a double agent. And so what he's doing is he's getting these groups to beef with each other. And by them fighting each other, it's making his ascension faster, if that makes sense. Because while they're killing each other off, he can go through the ranks that much quicker. So it's like he's like Lex Luthor. He's stirring shit. He's stirring the pot, and he's like kind of watching his work. It's like if you have two brothers, and you're like the third brother. You stir pot between the two of them. They fight, and then your parents punish them both, and then they look at you as the good brother. Like that's what he's done. He's like a manipulative tweener, and I like that. I like the character. It's just it's happening so fast, which is like where I agree with you.
This is, going back to my point, is the fact that maybe everybody's starting to realize time's up with Omega soon. Maybe this had to be accelerated.
Right. At least they're doing it like as fast as this is. At least like the story is really good. I was surprised because we have a whole year. Like I think let's see, what's today? Today is February 2nd. Yes, today's February 2nd. So, we have the whole year to go through. So what I thought they was going to do, I guess I'm just more of a patient booker than Ghetto is. My thought impression is that I thought that perhaps Cody and Omega would be in the G1 later this year, and I figured that they would both be in the same block, and sooner or later they would probably be forced to fight each other, and I thought then that was when it was really going to get going. But nope, they decided to just go ahead and get it started like right now. I think a part of me thinks they also did it so that it wouldn't get overshadowed by like the Royal Rumble and all that stuff. Just a possibility, which is fine, I guess. But I was very surprised that they just went ahead and did all this this early. Then there was the Tama Tonga promo, because there's a lot of people that feel that Tama Tonga should be the true leader of the Bullet Club because of this promo.
I don't follow you.
Right. But he didn't say specifically who he was talking about, like if he was talking about Omega or Cody or both. So I personally think that at this point, I think the Bullet Club I get why it still exists because of merchandise. It sells a lot of money. But I think at this point, everybody involved with the club has gotten to the point where they no longer need it to be successful. I think Marty would be fine as a singles guy. I think the Tonga and his brothers, Bad Luck Fale, like they're doing the whole 6-man thing right now. I think that they're fine. I think the Young Bucks are fine. I think Omega's fine. I even think guys like Cody and Adam Page, I think even they're fine. I do think that they've all pushed this as far as it can go. So at this point, if the Bullet Club were to continue, I would probably feel more comfortable if it was like led by a Tonga, because if he did lead it, it would feel, because the main criticism about the Bullet Club is that like when AJ and Balor, when they were there, it felt like that they were really trying to take over the wrestling world. Whereas with Omega, it feels more like with the Elite and Friends, where it's like Omega, the Bucks, and Cody, and like nobody else matters, which I definitely agree was legit criticism. Like for instance, like when AJ was the leader of the club, it felt like they were taking over like the division, because everybody in the group was champion of something. Like AJ was the IWGP champion, Gallows and Anderson were tag champions, Omega was a junior champion, like it was like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, the bucket list thing that you say for Omega is, I wouldn't say that's far-fetched. The main thing really that I know for sure is that he's not leaving until he gets the title. How long he holds the belt is not really relevant.
I don't think he's getting it, Chris. I think that, I'm going to be honest with you, I think that ship has sailed.
Oh, you think so?
I think that ship has sailed. I think the fact that they didn't pull the trigger on it, they've had 3-4 chances to do it, and they haven't. I don't think, because look at it like this too. They don't book, or if they do, it's very rare. They're not going to book a 35-day reign. Let's just say
right.
Omega won it on like the G1 show. All right, maybe not 35 days, but you get what I'm saying. Like, let's say they decided that besides the G1 finals, we're going to do Omega Okada, 5 or 6 at this point. And Omega
4.
finally beats him.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be 4? Okay.
Yeah,
whatever
it's 4.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Omega finally beats him. Okay? What's the point of having Omega win it there? Just to have Omega turn around and drop it probably at Wrestle Kingdom.
Here's some research facts that I wasn't aware of.
But
some of the facts I knew.
I also don't think that
ahead.
they're going to do this whole – I'm sorry. I don't think they're going to do this whole will he or won't he. I really think what happened 2 years ago, or what was it, last year, left a bad taste in their mouths. I got that impression, and maybe I'm wrong, but that was the impression I got, that they were not thrilled with, being up against, the clock with what he was going to do post-Wrestle Kingdom.
Here's some facts that I wasn't aware of when you brought up the Wrestle Kingdom thing. Apparently, and this is what really caught me off guard, and I actually looked it up to make sure that it checked out, and then after I looked it up, I was like, okay. So for the past 7 years, and I think we discussed this, not on Beer and Money, but I think we both called in on Nate's show once and talked about it. The IWGP champion has not lost at Wrestle Kingdom in 7 years. The last time there was a title change at Wrestle Kingdom was in 2011. So it's almost as if, like, how in WWE they book Madison Square Garden like it's the Holy Grail, like if you perform here, you've made it. So it's like the way that Ghetto books, it's like the champion never loses at Wrestle Kingdom. They've almost whoever the champion is, it's almost like they're the Undertaker, when the streak was a thing, he just wouldn't lose. So it's like every IWG champion post 2011, they lose at any show that's not Wrestle Kingdom. And it seems that most of the title changes happen at Dominion or Invasion Attack. Dominion's the show in June, which is basically their SummerSlam, and Invasion Attack is the show.
Let's look at it from where we're headed with everything. You're not getting Omega Okada at Dominion. Let's just look at it from where we are with everything.
I think if Okada does not drop the belt at Dominion, he's holding it for the rest of the year, and then he'll most likely finally.
I can't see it. I can't see it. I think the ship has passed.
I think what they're trying to do is what they could probably do, since they're trying to get more of a grasp on the American market, like they were really experimenting this year. Of course, this year, because they have the Fatal 4-Way match with the Junior Championship, and that was the first time they've ever done a Fatal 4-Way. I think what I could see them doing, I could totally see this happening. I could see them doing at Wrestle Kingdom next year, I could see the main event being Okada versus Naito versus Omega, like a 3-way. So it's basically the main event scene is a stranglehold between those three guys anyway.
No one's winning. No one else is winning the G1 then.
I don't think so, unless someone.
That's a problem too. Then that's a problem too. What That's a problem. That becomes a problem too.
But I think at this point, if Okada's going to drop the title, he's going to drop it at Dominion. To who? I don't know. Now, what you just said about short reigns, the shortest reign that I'm aware of, at least since I've started watching, was Naito. When he beat Okada the first time, like when he first did the whole LIJ thing. I forgot what show he beat him on. It was 2016. He was champion for like about a month and a half or 2 months, which was a relatively short reign, and Okada got it back. But it didn't really matter because it fit within the context of the story that they were telling. But yeah, I don't see Omega with that kind of reign. I don't see him winning the belt and dropping it the very next show.
I think the ship has sailed. I do. I think the ship has sailed. I think now, especially now, there's just going to be too much going on, and I
think probably the only thing that's different is that since Okada's acting more like a heel, That's the only explanation I could see. Like, because right now, like, I sent you the photos and some of the clips before. Like, as you can see, it seems like Okada's playing around with it. He's not like fully heel yet. He's just embracing it a little bit and then going back to the face stuff. If he just goes like full heel, like if he just goes full heel, then I could see Omega or Naito beating him, because they could do like the Bret Austin double turn story, like, because technically every match between Omega and Okada at this point has been Okada positioned as the face and Omega as the heel, which is why like Okada LOL wins. So like if they flip the roles between the two, I could see that, but I could only see that happening if Okada just goes like full heel or something. So you know. But I agree with your bucket list theory, though.
I think Okada is. I think it's sailed with Okada Omega. I don't see it happening. I could see that being the one thing, or maybe Omega could always look at it as, you know what, I'll go back there one day and I'll get it, but I don't see it.
I don't really see him in WWE either. He's not needed right now. They got enough talent. But I already told you my idea. If Omega was to go to WWE, what they should do is they should if it was up to me, like, and we talked about this privately, if he did go to WWE, it would be a risk and it would be totally different. But if he did go, obviously, he should skip NXT and he should go on SmackDown. Him and the Bucks should go on SmackDown.
He should skip NXT. Right. I agree with you 1,000% on that. There is no NXT for him or the Bucks. I agree with that 1,000%. My thing with Omega is, and this might, I think I brought this up on Nate's show the other day, or I've been thinking it, and I just haven't said it to anybody yet, is you got to remember something. At worst case scenario, probably by the end of WrestleMania next year, Vince is going to probably start going into full XFL mode, okay?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which means he's probably going to take a step back at that point. And, you would assume Triple H, Stephanie, they would have more of a day-to-day role at that point, Triple H more so with the talent. I think if there's a time to go, it's next year. Because you know what?
Yes,
you may not have the bullshit of, Vince just doesn't get the elite, so it's not going to get over, whereas Triple H probably has notifications on that shit on YouTube when a new episode comes out. And he'll I know that sound, but you get the gist of what I'm saying, that he might be more in tuned to say, all right, you guys can do A, B, and D, but you know what, let's just leave C out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll give them 80% of what they've been doing, whereas Vince might give them 10.
If it was up to me, like the booking, like I told you half of it, if he was to go to WWE, I would have him and the Bucks be exclusive to SmackDown. Make SmackDown a big deal, like how it used to be in the Ruthless Aggression era, like when they first started, because like it was a big deal that you could only see Taker on SmackDown. You could only see Angle and Lesnar on SmackDown.
Right.
So I would have them go to SmackDown, have them cut promos, and at some point, if they were to be asked, like if Renee Young was to ask like Omega and the Bucks, like, why SmackDown? And my plan would be, you could plant seeds, and you could have Omega and the Bucks be like, well, Monday Night Raw might be the show of the big dog, but Tuesday Night SmackDown is like the show for the elite. Because, it all goes back to, because there's a lot of money matches. But from a WWE standpoint, it really goes back to Roman throwing shade at Cody and Okada and the Bullet Club or whatever. So I would keep them separate brands, and you could build it up. Like, so while he's on SmackDown, you could do the Bucks and the New Day, the Elite and the New Day. You could do Omega, AJ, Omega, Nakamura, all types of different stuff. Right. And then by Mania,
and I will say this. I will say this straight out. The first thing you do for Omega is you got to make Nakamura put him over, because Nakamura owes him that. I felt that was
he does.
He owes
that
him
was
that.
not good business.
That was horrendous, and I did some research on it, and apparently it wasn't even like, you know, people were blaming WWE, but from what I heard, that was
on him. That was on him.
That was not their call. You know, that was not WWE saying no, he can't. You know, he can't do it. You know,
that was on
him,
and then after that, a bunch of the New Japan guys had to step in to help Omega get over. Like, I remember he had a feud with Tanahashi and then Elgin, and it worked out for him, but it couldn't have. It could have gone south at any point. But I agree with that. He should definitely go after Shinsuke first. But to me, the WWE dream match, because there's a dream match for, like, you know, wrestling fans, and then there's the match that's going to produce the most money for WWE. The ultimate end game would be either Omega versus Roman or The Shield versus The Elite, possibly at Mania, which would definitely be.
I mean, you've also got
different.
Omega Styles. Styles. You know, I think if the Usos stay the way they're going, the Usos Bucks could be a lot of fun.
That could be.
But yeah, you're right. Those are some of the big matches, and there's a shitload of money to be made. And
Triple H is
I'm telling you,
that's what we were agreeing. There's too much money.
I'm going to be honest with you. Say what the Bucks can say what they want on video. They could do whatever, but I'm telling you, these guys are not fucking stupid. They're not, and WWE has a relationship with Hot Topic, because as much as you see Bullet Club stuff there, you see WWE stuff there. So, I mean, there'll be money to be made. There'll probably be money to be made on a bigger scale, because you'll have the WWE machine backing it up, you know, with Triple H at the controls. I'm telling you, this eventually at some point, and I think, what is it? I think Nick has 2 kids. You know, eventually you got to start thinking about tomorrow, and you know, especially if the Bullet Club stuff not falls apart, but eventually it's going to run its course in Japan, and the act is going to run its course. You know, you're going to need something new and a new challenge, and you know, I that's why I think, you know, I think the Bucks could wait another year. I don't know if Omega could. I don't know if Omega could be that close to 40. Although, I mean, I guess AJ and Joe and Rude and some of those guys proved that to be wrong. But,
you know,
I don't know.
I
think Omega's 36 now. So, I mean, does Omega at 38 want to be talking, you know, okay, well, what am I going to do next year again? Like, eventually Omega's going to want, some stability as well, you know, for the later years of his career.
Let me see. Okay, you know, he's 34 right now.
Oh, he's 34. Okay.
34. Mhm.
Okay.
Let me see, and he's added some muscle too. He's currently billed as 222 pounds.
Yeah. Thank God. So he's well past that other limit.
Yeah, the Samoa Joe stuff is very unfortunate, by the way, since you brought that up.
Well, he'll be back in time for Mania. Thank God. You know, you'd hate to see him, you know, miss 2 Manias. Same thing with, you know, there was talk that maybe Rollins is a little banged up, but I'll tell you the one guy, since we're going to talk about injuries, the one guy, say what you will about the character, but this sucks if this gets bad. The fact that Jason Jordan's losing feeling, that's just
when I saw
bad.
That story, it reminded me of the first thing that came to my mind was the Arn Anderson story. That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good at all. So
no. And Edge is another one who had that. Yeah, that's not good. And I'll tell you right now, between concussions and neck injuries and who's got feeling, who doesn't got feeling, you know who this may end up hurting? Brian.
Oh, yeah, I've noticed that they kind of seem to have toned down on that lately. Or maybe it's just me.
They did.
Seems like
the
they
last
haven't been
2 shows, they kind of, you know, which could be a smokescreen. I mean,
right.
But yeah, the last couple of shows, it hasn't been as,
Speaking of smokescreen,
I guess because real quick, just to close up the Bryan thing was, I guess now it looks like the whole purpose of what he was doing has come to light. The whole purpose was to break them up, and it looks like that's where this is going.
Okay.
But I won't lie. I don't know if you watch. I'd totally be down with that feud if Zayn's the heel.
Oh yeah. It's different. Maybe that'd be what he needs to, get to the next level.
Yeah, instead of doing KO as the heel, have Sammy be the one that just turns on Owens, and
right.
Now you've got
because KO turning is too expected. Fans would predict that.
Right.
If Zayn turned, and I guess I won't say you would turn KO into like a sympathetic face or whatever. But
no,
like
but you
if you were to like
KO
make
almost into a modern day Austin.
Yeah.
Almost what Dean Ambrose should have been.
Right.
So, but yeah, where are you gonna go now?
Well, since we're talking about the injuries and stuff, just a little minor update. I feel like people should stop throwing shade at Sasha. If I recall correctly, I think Paige said in that podcast with Lillian that I believe her doctors told her she shouldn't come back anyway, and she did. And so if Paige was injured, by the kick that Sasha did, and I saw the footage, it wasn't even that much of a stiff kick. It was just a regular kick.
Well, no, not even that. But they were doing that same exact spot that whole tour. They were
right.
people that, because that was like the third show. I think it was MSG somewhere else, then the Coliseum, and people at both shows said they did the same exact spot.
Right. So if Paige got hurt by that, what that tells me is that sooner or later she would have been hurt by somebody. It just happened to be Sasha during that.
Paige unfortunately was just a ticking time bomb. It sounds like that. It wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when, more so than anything. That's kind of what I've gotten from the whole Paige thing. And yeah, there shouldn't be heat on Sasha at all. But since we're talking about heat on women.
Here we go.
She's lucky Uncle Dave is claiming it's a work.
Well, they're following each other on Twitter, which is kind of like, man, I swear, man, Twitter is getting people in trouble more than dirt sheets these days. If I was a wrestler, I would just stay the fuck off Twitter, but it seems to me like the company forces them to have a Twitter. So, because really, where the big Cass Carmella thing really got the news stories was the fact that they're no longer following each other on Twitter.
Yeah,
and
she
I was
removed
like, is it really?
all the.
Right, she did.
She removed all.
Right, which is unfortunate, seeing his injury and stuff. But yeah, apparently Nia and Nikki and like pretty much like I think most of the roster is following Ronda on Twitter, and so just based off that, Dave and pretty much any other person with intelligence is predicting it all to be a work. So
yeah, because Meltzer brought up something too. He was like, if you've noticed, none of the SmackDown divas, and he doesn't count Nikki Bella as like a SmackDown woman. He's like, none of them have said anything. He's like, it's coming from Nia, who's on Raw, Nikki Bella, who could easily appear on Raw, who are all probably going to end up working with her at some point. So it was like, okay, I guess. But, I mean, I don't want to sound repetitive. I did this on my Periscope, and I know I mentioned this on the PWP page. If there's anybody that they should be pissed off at, they should be pissed off at the Bellas. Because, I mean, realistically, they were put in the final 3 for Total Divas. Supposedly, they're going to do a match at Mania for Total Divas. That's the shit. If you want to get mad at somebody, get mad at them for that. I'm sorry, but to me, I thought Asuka was positioned amazingly for somebody who won the Rumble on Monday night. So where is this whole thing that Asuka was left in the dark, or left behind? It wasn't. To me, it wasn't there.
I thought that the way that they positioned Rousey made Asuka's Rumble win an afterthought. I didn't like that. And what I also didn't like was I thought that Ronda Rousey's debut was too rehearsed. It didn't feel genuine to me. Like when she came out, did we lose the feed?
Hey, Chris, sorry about that again.
No, it's okay.
So, but
yeah,
I mean, you were right though. The Ronda stuff definitely came off like it was a segment.
Yeah, like when she came out, there was no emotion from anybody. Like the only to his credit, the only person that really sold it was Michael Cole, and he always gets shit on for not selling it like JR used to. Michael Cole was selling it, but like when Ronda came out, Charlotte was like in the ring like it was another day. Alexa was in the ring like it was another day. Asuka, to her credit, at least like when Ronda went for the handshake, Asuka like slapped her hand away.
Yeah, Asuka.
Right, and then when she went outside to shake Stephanie's hand, Stephanie had like no emotion either. So to me, like I totally get like the Ronda thing. So I'm not mad at Ronda. But when Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather, like when they showed up to WWE, it really felt like that world was entering WWE, and it was like we were getting like this crossover. When Mike Tyson showed up, it was like the boxing world entered wrestling. When Floyd Mayweather showed up, it felt like the boxing world again was entering wrestling. With Ronda showing up, it should feel like the UFC MMA world is invading WWE, but instead she just feels like another character. Like she just came out there.
Let me see what she does with the first Raw appearance when she actually has the mic and they actually make her talk and like justifying why she's there.
She's a good talker, right? I don't really follow UFC like that. Is she a good talker?
Yeah, she's not bad. She's not great.
Okay.
She's not bad. But the difference is she doesn't have to cut a promo in UFC. I mean, she could just, hey Ronda, how'd that left arm work? Well, I hit her with a punch and that was it. Let's see when she has to sit there and, cut a promo on, Stephanie, or cut a promo on, this one eventually, that one eventually. Show me that. But I'm willing to give this to, and you're right with what you just how you just compared it. I'll give it to. Let me see what happens that first night she shows up on Raw, and how they position it, and how they position her, and all that stuff. Let me see what happens with that. I want to see it that way.
All right, just one last thing before we transition to the next topic. This is making rounds right now. About 10 minutes ago, we might have we'll probably have an official confirmation later today. It seems like at Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, they're going to do Omega versus Cody there. No confirmation yet, just a rumor. But Omega is confirmed to work Supercard of Honor.
So
that would be right. That is the Supercard usually takes place the week of Mania.
WrestleMania weekend.
That's right. So you're right. You're right. That's where the Hardys were.
I don't get New Japan at all.
That should be at a New Japan. No confirmation though. It could be an angle, but that's what's being rumored. So. Yeah, they should definitely save that for a New Japan thing. So.
What I would do, if anything, is I would do Cody Ibushi and, if anything, Omega Page at that show.
Right. See, I thought what they were going to do was they seem to be pretty serious about this All-In show. If they build it up for like the first half of the year and just have them don't touch at all, that would be a big draw if they're trying to fill in 10,000.
That's the other thing too. I thought that was going to be at that show maybe.
Right. I mean, but this is no confirmation or anything, but I can confirm that Omega will be working the show.
Right.
So,
I have seen that. That Omega's booked. I know they announced Ibushi about a week or so ago for the show. That's weird.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Definitely weird.
That's gonna.
You mentioned smokescreen earlier. This is something that I wanted to talk about. I did a post about it, but I made it very short and brief. Right now, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because they were in Philly. It was the Rumble. It was a smart crowd, so it's like don't read too much into it. Is it just me? And again, I'm not falling for this. You know, they do this every year around this time of year.
It's official.
I know that Cena's
Chris,
not turning heel.
Hang on, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's official. It's going to be Cody Omega at Supercard of Honor.
Okay.
Apparently,
All
a
right.
new Being the Elite video just came out, and they confirm it there. That's
I
a miss for
I didn't
Japan.
think about their YouTube. I didn't think about the YouTube show. Yeah, what's gonna happen to their YouTube show? Well, I guess eventually it will have to end because I know Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens, he had his own YouTube show. I think it was called a Kevin Steen show. It went for like
Kevin
2-3 years where he just interviewed
He would just interview guys randomly,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's official. It's official.
Well, that's obviously, no offense to Dalton Castle, that has to be the main event of the show. I don't know what Castle's doing, but that's gonna. I wonder what venue they're doing this year.
Is Castle? No, that was the Tennessee show where he fought Martinez.
Let's see. I'm not sure who he's feuding with right now. I'm happy he's champ. What's going on? Do you have an update on Silas Young? What's going on there?
Yeah, Young said he's going to resign. Young said he was just. I saw an interview with him where he pretty much just said he was having some fun with it.
Oh, okay. So he's still the TV champion right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But yeah, supposedly he did an interview and they asked him about it, and he pretty much admitted that he was just fucking around.
I was just having fun. Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of scared me for a second because I was like, I don't want this Kenny King stuff.
Even he kind of admitted that. You know what?
Okay, so they'll be. So I just looked it up. The Supercard of Honor is going to be in the Lakefront Arena. What's the venue capacity? Capacity 8,933. Okay, that's pretty big for Ring
with
of
this,
Honor.
they'll get 75 at least.
Yes, I agree there. I'll definitely give them that. Okay, no card yet, so yeah, that'll definitely put some butts in the seats, and it will be April 7th. What's Mania's date this year?
April 8th.
Oh, the day before. Oh, yeah. That's definitely going to be. Yeah, that's definitely going to have a lot of.
That's going to go up against NXT.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. So it's going to be like the takeover in Brooklyn again, from a few years back. Yep. It'll be like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think speaking of that, since you brought up NXT, I think so far the only negative I can say about whatever the takeover will be is since they went ahead and revealed everybody in the crowd, I don't see any surprises for that show. Unless someone like drastically that we don't know about signs up in the next like a month and a half or something. Because they showed War Machine, EC3, and Ricochet. They showed all three of them. I would have held off on Ricochet, but I don't see anybody else being in the crowd at that show.
I would have held off on EC3 to be honest with you, because from what I heard, he, not to spoil anything, but he did not work the TV tapings last night.
I don't even think he should be there.
Yeah, I don't either, but that's a different story for a different day.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't at the TV taping, so maybe they're maybe.
If he, I mean, we'll see what happens tonight. But tonight they're taping through, I think, until pretty much most of March, and then I think they're going back to Full Sail for like the final taping before the takeover. So, but I would imagine most of that card is going to take shape after tonight, which is why I'm not buying into that whole spoiler just yet. I need to see what they do with it tonight.
Right.
But if he doesn't, I was under the impression that they were going to wait, and the same thing with Lashley, that they were going to wait till his Impact stuff airs. You know, so why would you introduce him now if he's got at least a month's worth of stuff that needs to air.
Oh, right. You mean with EC3?
Yeah, and I heard that was going to be the same plan with with Lashley, that they'll just. I mean, besides the fact that it makes the most sense to do, from what I heard, the reason why they're going to hold him off till post-Mania is because they don't need him for Mania, and the other part of it I heard is because he's got stuff that's taped even further than EC3. Yeah, that definitely wasn't good in hindsight. It was. I think I get why he did it, because it's been such a long time since we've seen. Because there's so many takeovers now. I think because the one that really started the trend was like the one that had Asuka and the one that had Bobby Roode. Wasn't there someone else too? Oh, I know it was. It was Ibushi, then it was Asuka, then it was Bobby Roode. Well, back then they called it Kana, because that was a. No.
Was that a different one?
It was Ibushi and Roode, the one for WrestleMania Dallas, and Asuka already debuted. Asuka was in the crowd at SummerSlam the year before. She was. Okay. They quietly had her sitting with Flair, and then they were, But yeah, it was the one in Dallas where Ibushi, somebody else, I think, and Roode, and that's when it started.
It's been such a long time since we've had a takeover like that, where it's like just different segments you see someone. But I feel like that they kind of revealed. I mean, we all knew they were signed, but they kind of revealed it too early. So, like again, unless something drastic happens, that the Takeover Mania show, I just don't see anybody sitting in the crowd, because they've already revealed everything. Unless just something crazy happens in the next month and a half, and someone leaves and they can somehow go.
TNA's not taping. Not taping. I mean, is there anybody with Ring of Honor coming up that we don't know about?
Not that I know of. So
okay.
Unless like something crazy happens with like an ACH or Jay Lethal or like some big AAA star like Phoenix or Pentagon, there's no one. And so I would have showed War Machine and Ricochet, and then I would have held off and waited on the EC3 for like that show if they're going to go that route. Because I remember what made the Root thing so memorable was they showed him like right before the main event, which I thought was a good foreshadowing, because you knew like right off the get-go, like when this dude debuted, he was gonna like be like a top star like right off the get-go, which I thought was good usage. That's what I would have done, but that was what they decided to do. So
I mean, last year was well, you know what? You never know, because you know what? Last year. Remember, the story is they pulled McIntyre out like that Friday. So you never know. You never know who. You never know. I mean, there were reports that McIntyre was gone, but nothing was official, and he was working. He was booked for all these other shows, but That's right. So real quick, I want to end on this, because I'm dealing with a little bit more of a situation than I thought. But where do you think Cena's going?
Well, that's what I was about to bring up. Was I gave it the benefit of doubt, and I gave it a pass because they were in the Rumble and they were in a Philly crowd, and so sometimes when you're working in front of that kind of crowd, you work differently. But it happened again on Raw. And something definitely just seems a little off about Cena. I'm not falling for it, though, because they've done this before numerous times during different build-ups to different WrestleManias, where for the build-up to that WrestleMania, they'll slightly tweak Cena's character, and then after Mania is over, it's like right back to how he normally is. But something about this time in particular just seems a little different. The one at Rumble, it was just weird, but the match against Balor at Raw was really weird. He really seemed, and this isn't me trying to be like, I'm not trying to come off as disingenuous or smarky or be mean. That match of Balor, he really seemed like he didn't care, and I mean that. Like, he really seemed like he just didn't want to be there. And then the spot that a lot of people missed, and I took, like, a screenshot of it, and I posted it on Facebook, and people thought that it was a meme that I made. Yeah, the little 2-3, and I'm like, no. Like, he did that for real. And people are like, right? I'm like, yeah, go back and watch. And then fans realized he did that. I'm like, that's like, the vibe he gave me in that match was when you're a senior in high school, and it's your last week of school, and, like, you just don't care. Because you're going to walk anyway. He really seemed like he just didn't care. And then I looked at the Rumble again. The Rumble was a good match, but what got me was I think there's a spot in the match where it was the spot where they did like the ruthless aggression versus present day tease, where it was like Mysterio, Orton, Cena, Nakamura, Balor, and
I think Roman.
Roman, right. And then it was like I think Orton got eliminated. And, like, Cena was, like, looking at Roman, and the fans were booing. And Cena just had, like, this confused look on his face. I was reading his lips. He was like, what? Like, he just seemed lost. Like, I don't know, man. It's just something's off. Like, I'm not saying he's going to turn heel.
He had an off weekend because he's dealt with hostile crowds before. But I'm going to be honest with you. The reason why I'm not giving it too much of anything yet, I just think this is all going to play to him challenging Undertaker because he kept saying at the end of Raw, I'm just trying to get to WrestleMania. I'm just trying to get to WrestleMania. I'm just trying to get to WrestleMania. And it almost seems as if Cena's at a point where maybe he's realizing if he's not in the title match, what is he going to do?
Right.
And I think this is just all just going to play up to, well, there's one thing I can do. You know,
and I think
that's
definitely. And if they're not going to do the Balor Roman thing later, then this at least solidifies a legitimate excuse for Balor and the new club. That's what I'll call them. I'll call it the new club. For the big post-Mania Raw angle, I could totally see like a Balor. Like I could totally see like just a random throwaway tag match. Like I could see like Balor and Cena versus the Bar on post-Mania Raw, and like I could totally see Balor just like going apeshit and just turning on Cena. The club comes out.
I would be shocked if Balor's not heel by 11:15 on April 9th. I would be shocked.
Because this is an excuse because he got eliminated at the Rumble and Cena cost him a shot at the title. So so I think the Roman stuff can come later. So at least here's a program to turn him. Right now,
you could use Cena as a guy to bridge Balor to Roman.
Right.
Like Cena could put over Balor, which would then be like, okay, I took care of him. Now I want my title back that I never lost. You know.
The reaction that Cena's reminding me of right now was at first I was going to compare him to Hogan, but actually Cena is reminding me a little bit more of the Rock during that period.
Which one?
Cena reminds me of The Rock during that weird 2004 Mania 20 period where he wasn't Dwayne yet, but he wasn't The Rock. Like he had to.
And Rock didn't care. Rock didn't care because he wasn't going over. Yeah, right. Because he's selfish. Yeah, he doesn't care about anybody but himself. Didn't care about Randy Orton. What?
Right. That's.
Let me slow down there for a minute.
But the boos that The Rock got back then, it was a different kind of boo. Like when he was doing the stuff with Lesnar at SummerSlam 2002, it was a boo more as in
glorious.
Like it was a boo as more of like they were booing because they knew that he was going to Hollywood and they knew that he wouldn't be like there in the long run. But the boos that he would get,
too. Don't hang on a second. We hated him too. I'm gonna be dead honest with you. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it was that because then you'll get people on the flip side that say like, well, we should thank Rock because he saved, the company with the Austin shit, and that's true. You know what? Credit where it's due. You know what? He could have easily said, listen, this isn't my problem, whatever the case is. But no, we hated Rock. We hated him. That crowd, that building hated him.
Yeah, you guys just hated him for some reason that night.
He was out. No. You know what it was, Chris? And this is my point with him. His shit was just starting to get old. That's what it was. Like, you heard it in 98, you heard it in 99, you heard it in 2000, you heard it in 01, and you were hearing it again in 02, and it was like, dude, Lesnar's not the type of guy to do that shit with. Come up with something else. Come up with, like, no, like, seriously, like, come up with the fact that you have to literally, like, kick this guy's ass, you know?
Right. But the booze that he got in 2004 for the brief, build-up that they did for the match, the booze that he got then, it was different. It was more of a, we don't really need you boo, like from the fans. Because it was like, we already have this, so why do we need you? So that's the type of heat at the worst that I see Cena getting. Because normally when Cena makes it to the end of the Rumble, it's a hot crowd. But it's like you had Balor, you had Roman, you had Nakamura, you had like Mysterio, you had Ziggler. So it's like you have like this mix of dudes. And then when Cena was there, the booze that he was getting, it reminded me of that. It was almost as if not necessarily like, the usual like Cena sucks boo. It was really more of like a, why are you here boo? Like, we don't need you right now boo. Like, I feel like, I don't know, like it's different.
You know what it was? You know what it was too? There's still a fear, and I guess Monday night kind of justifies it. There's, okay, are you here to put somebody over, or are you here to take something you don't need? And I what's weird with Cena is, for the most part, he's been in that, no, I'm here to put somebody over mode for the last, 2 years. And this is maybe where the internet becomes a bad thing, because there was talk, well, maybe they'll find a way to get Cena that 17th world title. Maybe that's what they'll do. And I think people were just like, please, God, no, don't do this,
Well, I think if he gets the 17th title, it's more than likely going to be the Universal title and not the WWE title, just so they can say Cena has won every belt possible, because he's been WWE champion before. If the Taker thing doesn't work out, then I have no clue who Cena fights. The only person I can think of is Joe. But if they did Joe, they would have to, really rush the fuck out of that program, because by the time Joe comes back, won't it be March?
You know what, though? They really won't. I'll tell you why. Because you know what? Joe could come back. Let's say Joe comes back March 1st. Joe could come back. Cena could wrestle a match on Raw. Joe could choke out Cena, and there you go. That match is built.
Yeah.
Right there. I mean, I don't know if you'd have to really, oh my God, get too much into it. That's the one thing about a Cena feud at this point that is kind of easy to do is, okay, have someone go out and attack Cena, and there's your match. So, if Taker comes back and says, you know what, fuck it, I'm not doing it, then you could have Cena wrestle. Maybe you could do that Cena-Elias match, which obviously has to happen because of where their story's at, and you could turn around and just, after Cena beats Elias, you could have Joe come out and just choke out Cena, and, there's your build.
I'd rather do that than Rock showing up, giving Elias a rock bottom.
Shut your dirty mouth.
Yeah.
But I think Cena to Joe would be easy. The one guy I'm really I was thinking about it before, right? I was thinking what I know there's some reports about what WrestleMania is going to be, and there's some parts that obviously appear to be interchangeable. I know if Rocky can't do the mixed tag, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. I've heard they're going to put Strowman in there. And then maybe they'll slide Balor over to Miz. But, the one guy, I was really thinking about it. What does Orton do?
From what I remember, at the very beginning of the year, he wanted to work a lighter schedule, and that would include possibly missing WrestleMania. So
he's not going to miss Mania.
Well, there's nothing for him right now.
Like I heard they may do like a multi-man U.S. title match. Like, can you put Orton in that?
No, he won't do that. And I've talked about this before. I've ranted about this before. And to Orton's credit, he's definitely taken a back seat before. But that's my main beef with him. That's my main beef with Orton and I totally get it. You know, it's his opinion, and that's how he feels. But my main beef with him is that for some reason, a part of him feels like he's above that. He feels that mid-card titles are below him. And I've said this for years, and we've been very passionate about it, and it was really kind of like when we first started like really clicking, is that was the main thing that Cody lacked. The main reason why so many people don't see Cody as a top star is because when he was in WWE, he never had that breakout win. And I keep telling people, I said, no, he had that feud with Orton when he was Intercontinental Champion. He had a really good match, but every single match Cody had with him, the belt was never on the line. And that didn't make him look good. That didn't make him look good. And it's like, how many times have you seen a top guy, and like even though they're a top guy, they still have the belt on the line, and it makes the other guy look like a credible threat, like when Mick Foley fought Randy Orton for the Intercontinental title. That didn't have to be for the belt, but they made it for the belt anyway because Mick knew that if the belt was on the line, it would make Orton more, and it would make
$1 million.
Right. Jericho's done it. Tanahashi in New Japan's done it, so it's okay. Like even Cena, to all
Cena's the guy that started this U.S. Open Challenge. He's the guy that started
He'll do it. You know, and so that's my beef with Orton. He doesn't, for some reason, it's like, I don't know, it's like, because I remember like during that period, because there was that period, like the worst, the thing about Orton, when Orton's motivated, he's like, there's no one better. But when he's not motivated, you can tell. And I remember that period of time in like 2012 to 2013, it was like after like Christian was hurt, the Hall of Pain stuff. It was during that period where Daniel Bryan's Yes stuff got over, and they were pushing Sheamus as a face, and it really seemed like for 5 pay-per-views in a row. I'm not exaggerating this. I think they did like Sheamus versus Del Rio in some kind of match. And I remember like during that period, like Orton was doing nothing. He was like, I think he was like in a feud with the Shield, and then like Big Show turned on him and Sheamus, and it seemed Orton was just having nothing matches for like 2 years. And I remember like during that period of time, fans were like, hey, Orton should like win the IC belt or win the US belt so it could give him something to do. And I remember like I think Cesaro, wasn't he like the U.S. champion or something? I think he was like the U.S. champion, and I think they were going to do Cesaro was going to have a match with Orton, and then like Orton no-showed. Let me just. I've actually, because think about it, I've actually gotten better with Orton because I don't hate him as much as I used to. But the
problem is what do you do with him? Like I was really thinking about it, and
right.
What I would do with him.
What I would do is, this is me. This is me personally. This is what I would do. I would do. I love Bobby, because we're both total rude marks. But this Rusev Day shit is getting over. So have Rusev and Bobby do
a double turn.
Do a double turn Tuesday. Do a double turn. Have Rusev beat Bobby. Have him go full blown face. Have Bobby go heel, which is fine. Because Bobby is better as a heel. I mean, we all know that anyway. So have Rusev do his thing. Let him do Rusev Day. And then do Rusev versus Orton. Go back to that. But this time have Orton as, I guess, not a heel since Bobby would just turn heel. I would do Rusev versus Orton for the U.S. title. It's not, probably the match everybody wants, but it would definitely help Rusev. It would help the U.S. title. That's what I would do. And then perhaps in the aftermath, if Rusev was to beat him, then you could have Orton go heel afterwards. The problem, though, is that
you could also build it as Orton going for a title that he never held.
Right. You could do that. The main problem, though, is that I think Orton's not against this, but from what I understand, I have it under good authority because I know a lot of people that have worked with him. I have it under good authority that Orton. He's not against it, but he'll only do it if he respects you, is that Rusev, if he's going to turn face, I like the accolade. It's a nice finisher, but you know how it is, man. Some people are just, they're really like, they're really stiff, creative about their characters, and they're just totally against submissions. I think the only time I've ever seen
Orton's not taking the accolade.
Right. The only time I can think of
Orton, it was a fight to get him to take the S lock.
Right. Right. The only time I can remember him submitting was submitting to the yes lock, and I remember there was a random match on SmackDown. I forgot when it was, but he had a match against Del Rio, and Del Rio put him in the armbar, and Orton tapped. And I remember that surprised a lot of people. I don't remember when it was, but then at the time I was like, well, you got to think about it. Orton has a history of shoulder issues. Del Rio's offense focused on the arm, shoulder. So it made sense, but I remember there was like a random SmackDown where Del Rio had a match against Orton. I have no clue when this was. I'm getting old. But I remember that Orton did tap out to that. But, yeah, man, if Rusev's going to go for a face, he needs to get a new finisher. I mean, he can keep the accolade.
What I would do even, and you don't even have to do the title change on Tuesday, but I would have Rude, like, cheat. Maybe hook the tights to beat Rusev.
Right, yeah.
Kind of build to that Rusev win. Yeah, like you don't have to do the Rusev win right away. I think that might be jumping the gun a little too much. But you could do something where like Rude rolls him up, and Rude clearly has like the tights, and does like that Rude laugh, and like you're slowly building to it. And then you could have Rude like be ducking him for the rematch. Like, no, I don't have to give you a rematch. You know what I'm saying?
Basically like what Punk did when he cashed in the second time.
Roddy and Bobby Fish.
Right. I love that feud. That was great. Yeah. But
come get an
work.
autograph picture of the Ring of Honor World Television Champion. No, guys, I'm signing over here. Fish was great during that.
Did you know that Fish was like a substitute teacher before this? That's amazing.
No.
He's like Matt Striker done right.
I'll never forget that video of them having like, come on guys, you can get an autograph with the ROH TV champion, and they were pointing everybody to Roddy's table, and Fish had a table on the other side of the room. He's like, no guys, I'm over here. The TV champ's over here.
Speaking of Roddy, does it bother you that they're doing more integration? Because that seems to be bothering some people. Does it bother you that they seem to be doing like integrating stuff?
No.
No, it doesn't bother me either.
The 205 Live stuff? The 205
I mean,
Live?
just in general, like with the UK and 205 folks, I don't think it's a bad thing.
No. Why? Oh, my God. Somebody different shows up. Oh, what a fucking terrible tragedy.
Right. I don't think it's bad either.
And you know what? It gives these guys. I think I was talking to Nate about this, because Nate was kind of down on Almas being, or Justin was kind of down on Almas being in the Rumble. And I was like, but think about it. How many of these guys from NXT get brought up with no mainstream exposure at all?
Right.
At least. And this is my point with Almas, and it's kind of going to be the same point with Roddy and whoever else they use from NXT. But now you'll remember Almas as that guy from NXT who went like 35 minutes in the Rumble.
Man, he's really turned it around. I'm happy for him.
He has. I am too. I wonder what Del Rio thinks about it, because remember, Del Rio was trying to stir the pot by saying, "Oh, he's unhappy. He wants out. He wants to leave."
Right.
And guy's on fire, man. But you know what? That's good. So you know what? You'll remember Almas as that guy from NXT who went 35 minutes in the Rumble. Now, I don't see how Roddy or Tommy could be a bad match. So now you'll have a taste of Roddy. So if they go to bring him up, whether it be the 205 full time or SmackDown, or you'll have a little bit of who he is. And you know what? That doesn't hurt these guys. Like I saw people saying, like, oh, my God, look at how bad of a, 2 days Tyler Bate had between losing the match on 205 and losing the match to Roddy. Yeah, but you know what? Now you know who Tyler Bate is. If you didn't see Bate done at TakeOver in May, or if you only heard about it, now you're seeing the guy. And on top of that, to a degree, it makes TJP even a little more better now, because it's like, wow, wait a minute, this guy had this amazing match with Pete Dunne, and TJP just beat him. It's stuff like that that makes stuff work.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there.
I don't think it's a problem. I've seen it too. The only one that I wouldn't have done it with was Moon.
Well, she's cringe anyway, so. But yeah.
But besides that, I know they did a good job of taping her up, and she was selling. But you know what? Sell that injury. Sell that injury more. If anything, I would have put Brazier in.
I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of that.
No,
finish.
but I'm just saying,
what hurt that
story,
finish was
just going with the story. I would have put Brazier in over Moon. If you wanted to go with somebody from that match, I would have went with Brazier.
That would have made more sense.
Oh, she laid out, she put the NXT champion on the shelf. What happens if he gets a hold of, I don't know, Becky Lynch's arm? Like I would have went with that. But yeah, I mean, I got no problem with them bringing guys in and, this and that. Because you know what? It would be one thing if Amos would have came in and would have been thrown out in 30 seconds, then I'd be like, all right, you're killing these guys. But you know what? If you really think about it, these guys from NXT and the girls from NXT, they got solid showings. They weren't just brought in to just be tossed over. Cole got a good showing. Like it wasn't a case of, okay, you're here because we need a body, and we're going to have Roman throw you over the top. They did things. Almas threw guys out. Almas was in the match. Cole was all over the place.
Yeah, it was a really nicely booked Rumble.
The only one that made me question what happened, I wonder if Dana jumped the gun eliminating Zayn.
The only negative that I had with the Rumble,
because Kairi Sane looked confused, and I was thinking about it, really, this is the chick that won the Mae Young Classic. She's probably going to get involved in the title picture soon because of the story with Brazier taking her out. So she's going to want revenge on Brazier, which is probably going to get her put in the title match. And Dana Brooks eliminating her randomly in the Rumble.
Yeah, it was weird.
The
only negative I had with the Rumble was I thought it was weird having Ziggler be number 30 and they did nothing with it. Considering the circumstances of the last time he was on TV, I didn't expect him to win, but I figured that he would set up some kind of angle or something, and he didn't do anything. He went in there, super kicked a few people, got rid of Goldust.
I think he got thrown out by Cena.
No, it was Balor.
Yeah,
Balor.
especially with Rude not in the Rumble. Yeah, I didn't get the whole point of Ziggler in the Rumble. I know they tossed around what they wanted to do with Ziggler. There's the report that he was supposed to be the U.S. Open Challenge guy. Then there was a report that they were thinking maybe you're doing it with Cole. But if that's the case, then just don't bring him back. You need to tell me there wasn't.
My sympathy for him is dwindling, and is something that Nate and I always joke about, because the thing about it is, he is reminding me of the kind of person that stays in a bad relationship and complains about it. And everybody hates that person. Nobody wants to be that friend listening to another friend complain about their abusive boyfriend and girlfriend. So it's if you don't like them, then just leave. Ziggler has had several opportunities to leave. Sometimes that's what it takes to rejuvenate your career, is that you have to leave. You got to do something different, go elsewhere, and then that's how you come back on a better footing. You see a lot of people are taking chances now, guys like EC3 left, McIntyre left, Cody left. Look at all these people leaving. Right, the time that he spent doing nothing, he could have been in Ring of Honor or New Japan, totally revitalized by now. And so he's complaining about his spot when it's very clear, where he is. And so at his exact moment, he's basically the dude that's going to be the go-to guy when a new NXT person shows up. I guarantee you, if Almas loses the belt at Mania and TakeOver to whoever it is, he's going to debut on SmackDown the week of, and he's probably going to feud with Ziggler. Yeah, and then when Adam Cole shows up, he's going to feud with Ziggler. That's his spot. So it's so it's at first I felt sorry for him, but it's dude, just fucking leave. Go somewhere else, try something different. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
My problem with Ziggler, and hey, listen, I get speaking your mind and not holding back just because you have to. I've always been that person. You know, when I worked for AT&T, I stood right up in front of like the fucking Northeastern General fucking God above all manager and told him your system is fucking broken and it's not realistic. And I had about 500 people just look on in horror as I said this to him. I get speaking up for what you believe in and what you know is right, is wrong, whatever. But you did this in 2013, and it killed your push with the world title. You have to learn at a time you need to shut your mouth. Because I did that then, but I never did it again because I caught so much shit for it. And, you know, my bosses and their bosses and pretty much everyone down the line for about 6 months made my life a living hell.
You're right.
You know, but, you know, he hasn't learned. And how do they punish you?
I'll end it on this because
Mojo Rawley or whatever.
I'll end it on this because fans debate like when was it over for him? After the double turn, which is very underrated, which you know him and Del Rio, great match, great turn. You know, then he transitioned into the feud with AJ, and to Punk's credit, because I remember you brought it up. That was one of the first times that I talked to you. I think it was like the next night after, or it was like a week after. Like I think Punk and Del Rio had a segment, and Punk told Del Rio like, "Why do you keep avoiding Ziggler? Like, why do you keep ducking Ziggler?" So I was like, "Yeah, that was cool." So like at the time, I thought that once the AJ Lee feud blew over, he would be inputted right back into the title picture with Del Rio.
He was supposed
but they
to be,
didn't.
and then the problem is he went out during that SummerSlam weekend in Los Angeles and ripped the company apart. He ripped Hunter. He ripped Vince. He ripped Stephanie. And he was supposed to get that shot at night. He was supposed to get that shot at Night of Champions. It wasn't supposed to be. I think it was RVD who ended up getting the shot. And that feud wasn't supposed to happen. That was supposed to be, okay, we're gonna circle back to Ziggler now. And he ran his mouth, and they're like, all right, fuck you, you're done.
Right. So then that happened, and then they did the Team Cena versus Team Authority now. And looking back in retrospect, it's very obvious that Soul Survivor spot was meant for Roman.
That was the Roman spot.
And that really hurt Roman. That really hurt him because I look back now, and I think if Roman had been in that spot, if he had not been sick, because I know he wasn't injured, he was sick. But I think back now, like if he hadn't been sick, right? If he had been in that spot, it would not have made the Rumble in 2015 as bad as it was, because at least it would have made a little bit more sense because Roman would have been positioned because he got sick.
It's not only that, Chris, and we've talked about this a million times. It would have made Roman, because remember Ziggler got that little blessing from Cena, like go get him. I'm sure Cena would have done that for Roman as well. And the problem is you wouldn't have gotten those stupid interviews with Roman where Roman was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be okay. I'll be back soon." Like Roman should have been like, you know what? Seth Rollins put me on the shelf. I'm gonna kick your fucking ass when like that was the problem. And I remember people saying it at the time, like, why is this guy so like happy and whatever? And that's when I was like, nah, fuck this ain't the guy.
Right. But Ziggler got the spot, and the fans were behind him. He had the Intercontinental match of Harper. The fans were behind him, and so that would have taken us into 2015.
That was quietly a good little feud.
I was like, yeah, that
Harper was like a loose associate of the Authority, so it was still keeping Ziggler in like a main Authority, like anti-Authority storyline, even though Harper wasn't like 100% Authority. He was almost like a hitman for them, like, I'll do what you need.
He was almost like the boss man kind of character, closest thing to boss man. And then when they transitioned into 2015, you know, after that, like despite the revival of Ziggler interest in fans, when they transitioned into 2015, they continued to keep him at the Intercontinental level, and from that point forward, that was when I could honestly say it was like that was it. There was a little glimmer of hope, a little bit, during that Dean Ambrose feud, which we have both talked about. Is irrelevant now, but the aftermath of that, and then the stuff with Miz. So at this point, Ziggler is definitely at best, with the best booking and with the fans behind them, at the possible best, Ziggler would be like in the same category as Miz in the sense that like his peak is the Intercontinental title, but I would even say that Miz has it better because
at least Miz, once they clear out the logjam with the world title, whether it's getting rid of getting some of these I don't want to say smaller in the sense, but smaller than Brock, Braun, and Roman guys. I think Miz at some point in 2018 is going to have a world title run. He is just too. He's been too
at least
on
there's
fire.
There's interest with Miz. There's interest with
the
him.
only problem with
like,
Miz, and this is something to keep an eye on. Maurice's due date is April 6th.
Well, fuck. That's I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they actually addressed it on Total Divas where they're at the doctor and Miz is like, is there any chance? And the doctor has told Miz, I mean, granted, this was months ago. Your situations can change. I mean, heck, my son ended up being, 10 days early because it was just like, let's take him out now. Everything's good. But the doctor at the time that was filmed tells Miz, we have no plan to do anything beforehand. So, there's an outside chance Miz could miss WrestleMania.
Wouldn't that mean he wouldn't be at the Hall of Fame either?
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then don't be surprised if he randomly drops it before then. I mean, that sucks.
I can see that too.
I don't have any kids, but in a situation like that.
If him versus Balor gets booked for Elimination Chamber or like a random Raw out of nowhere, like mid-March, then they're probably under the mindset that he might have to miss Mania. And you know what? Let's just be prepared. And I mean, and with the way they've been with him, I'm sure they'll tell him, listen, go do what you got to do, and then you know what? When you come back, we're gonna plug you right back in. I mean, they did it with the movie, obviously, and. Go film your movie, and then when you come back, we'll get the belt right back on you. And if they did that at the expense of Roman, I'm sure they'll do that for Miz at the expense of Balor, as much as I hate to say that.
And if he did that, wouldn't he tie Jericho's record?
Yes.
All right. That works out then.
Yeah. So, anything you want to close on real quick?
Let's see. We pretty much covered everything. Oh, yeah, one last thing to cover out on. Minor thing. I was nervous about it earlier, but I think they'll be okay. I think this year probably will be the Usos' first actual WrestleMania match because every year they've always been on the pre-show.
I'm up. What are you going to do with them? They've beaten everybody.
I guess they're going to fight Harper and Rowan.
That's going to end up on the pre-show.
Or
you know that, right?
They could fight Owens, and Zayn.
See, I would do that and maybe have the breakup happen post that.
Right.
That's what I would do. I would have them beat. I would have them beat the Bludgeon Brothers at. I think SmackDown's getting Fastlane, and then I would turn around and have I'd have Owens be like, you know what? We need to get back on the same page. Let's go out. Let's win the tag belts.
You know what? I'm sorry, man. I got to say this. I don't want to come off like an asshole, but I got to say this because I talked about it last year, and now it's like I'm feeling a little bit more passionate about it. I'm all for, woman empowerment and them having equal opportunities and stuff like that. But
be careful.
Sometimes, man, you got to ask yourself, just because we can doesn't mean we should. I feel like that they're just doing women's versions of every male match just so they can say they're doing it, not because it makes sense to do. And what pissed me off last year, and this is how I am with big shows. Now, the thing about it is, with the network, for these bigger shows, I'm not talking about like your B-show pay-per-views. With the network, technically, they don't really need a pre-show. It could just be one long show. But I guess they don't want to intimidate people with a 7-hour show or whatever. And so nobody wants to be on the pre-show. I get that. I understand that. But somebody has to be there to get the crowd going for the main show. And so my opinion is that the matches you put in the pre-show are either one of two matches. They're expendable matches, or of all the storylines that you've been telling during that period of time, the matches that have the least amount of build should go in the pre-show. And what pisses me off about this women's revolution thing is there are some guys that are going to become scapegoats and going to get unnecessarily put on the pre-show just to satisfy this women's revolution movement. And I said this last year. I got heat for it, and I'm not taking it back. I still feel the same, but I'm sorry. That SmackDown women's title feud last Mania was the weakest build of all the matches on that card that year because Naomi was hurt. Alexa was kind of champion. She didn't really have anyone to feud, and that's not her fault.
Yeah, but
that was just how bad the booking was.
I'm going to tell you exactly why. No, well, yeah, that match was, but there's two
that
reasons
match deserved to be on the pre-show. It should have been on the pre-show.
Right, but you know why it didn't. Yeah, but let's be honest. You know why it didn't. If WrestleMania was held anywhere else other than Orlando, it probably would have been. But the fact that they were able to get that big pop and from Orlando, Florida, that's why that match was on the main show. You are 1,000% right. But
and because of that, that left a sour taste in the mouth of Neville and Aries, and they're both gone. Those guys could have been future assets to the company, and they're both gone.
Let's be honest, though, about one thing, and let's look at what was on the pre-show. Aries Neville wasn't on the pre-show because of the SmackDown Women's title. If anything was going to get switched off, and let's just be honest, it would have been probably Ambrose Corbin. Aries Neville had no chance to make the pre-show. I mean, no chance to make the main show. And they should have been on the pre-show. Especially,
I thought that deserved to be the opener. I thought that could have been a good opener. Because what I'm thinking in my head was, I'm thinking...
Forget about who it was. Forget about who was in the match. Look at it like this. This is the first time at WrestleMania your new Cruiserweight title is being defended. Why would you not present that in such a predominant spot? You know,
let
it be the opener.
Yeah, see, my thought process was, like, we've seen WrestleMania have, like, two high-flying guys open it before, or, like a fast-paced match. Like, I'm thinking WrestleMania 10, Bret Owen. I'm thinking WrestleMania 21, Eddie, Mysterio. So at the time, I thought that Aries and Neville would open. Like, okay, that'd be a good opener, get the crowd going. But instead, they opened the pre-show. But anyway, I'm not that mad about it now. I'm over it now. Aries is in a better place. He's like mentally. That is, he's not like batshit crazy like I thought he would be.
Is he really?
I don't know what the fuck's going on with Neville. Hopefully, we see him soon. But that's my real concern with this women's revolution thing. Is I feel like that they're just doing it just to say they're doing it.
I think honestly, as far as Neville goes, if Neville wants to come back, and I don't know if he does. I know there was talks that they were talking, then there were talks that the talks broke down, then there's talks that, you know what, they may kind of be doing it through like intermediate people just to kind of gauge whatever. If I'm Neville, you have to look at the mirror right now and decide what you want to do, because if this 205 Live revival works, and I'm saying but if this ends up working, between the integrating of the NXT guys, the UK guys, maybe the occasional one-off guy that comes in, you know, to work a show, it may get to a point where they're going to turn around and say, you know what, ship sails, we don't need you. And I mean, I know he could go to New Japan, okay?
He'd be fine there.
I know he could probably do a one-off in Ring of Honor.
Especially what you just said earlier, because you were saying, is Jay White really the guy? I could totally see Neville going to New Japan and being the IWGP U.S. champion. There's a guy that I would see fans like, oh, yeah, I'd totally like a New Japan World to watch Neville carry that.
Yeah.
Because he's a name that people, that U.S. fans know, UK fans know, Japanese fans remember him.
But also, too, with New Japan, I wonder if, and we talk about how this January is going to be a fucking shit show, you know, with contracts and everything, would New Japan even tell him, we got to get through January. We'll talk. If anything, we'll do it for the new beginning. Now that's 10. It's 11 months down the road.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna go. You're gonna do the occasional one-off at Ring of Honor. Would you go to Impact? I'm sorry, but I didn't see anything last night that made me scream, "Oh my God, they got it! They're gonna turn a corner." So what do you? I think he really, there's two questions I posted. I'm surprised I didn't get answers to it, and maybe I'll ask you directly.
Mm-hmm.
Your WWE.
Yeah, what was the question? Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Your WWE. You go to Neville, and you say, "We're prepared to offer you blank to come back." Now, the flip side of that is you're Neville. You call Triple H. I will come back if. What are they?
What Neville wants is what Aries wanted, and it's what I have said is the main criticism of 205. If they want to make this cruiserweight division work, by all means, try. This concept, however, of cruiserweights being limited to only working with cruiserweights is death. That's not going to work.
Well, supposedly... all right, well, hang on. Let's take that off the table because supposedly the word is that at Raw 25, Enzo was going to work Goldust. So
right.
Let's assume if they were willing to go that route, that maybe that restriction they're coming away from. So now with that off the table, so you're telling me if Triple H said, okay, you know what? Well, you're going to be a cruiserweight, but you know what? Every now and then you're going to work this one. You're going to work that one. You're going to work with this one.
He would come back. I honestly think he would come back. Because we talked about this last year. We talked about this. I said if Neville, I said when this King of the Cruiserweight stuff runs its course, I said if he approaches Triple H or Vince or whoever, and if he says, hey, I really appreciate this opportunity. This show has really revived my career. But, hey, man, I want to work against Rollins or AJ or Balor. I want to work with everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I said, if they tell him no, Neville's going to say, fuck off.
I agreed with you. I said if they tell him no, then, Neville would have every right to turn around and be like, fuck this, I'm out of here.
That's
agreed
the problem
with you 1,000% on that.
That's the one thing that even despite all their problems and all their name changes, that's the one thing that TNA always did right. The X Division was not just limited to X Division guys. Every now and then, you would see them go out of the X Division and fight other dudes. That's all I'm asking.
I'm
not saying
AJ was world champion, and AJ was world champion, and then AJ was X Division champion, and vice versa. Same thing with Joe.
Right,
and same thing with this one. No,
they did it. They did it in a way.
Right.
They would present it in a way where, if an X Division guy fought a heavyweight guy, it wasn't presented as this amazing. It was presented as another thing. That was what made Aries' Option C story so good. That's all they got to do. So I see where you're coming from. I truly believe that they could offer Neville a shit deal. I believe they could offer him just a complete lowball deal.
As long as the opportunity is there, he'll take that.
He would take it. I think that's what he wants. I think he just wants to go into SmackDown or Raw or whoever. Just like how guys like Balor can work with an Elias or a Bray. That's what he wants. Neville just wants to work with everybody else.
I'm probably going to know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you think Balor is quietly the underlining problem in all this?
I've been trying really hard to, because one of my New Year's resolutions is to be more positive. I've been trying really hard.
This wouldn't make you negative. I'm not talking about what you think about Balor as a worker or a character. I'm talking about the physical stature and the positioning of Balor.
I think
that
Balor
are looking at him?
I think that Balor's presence in general, and this is just my honest opinion, I feel like Balor's presence in general is the biggest problem with the company right now as a whole, because every problem that Roman Reigns has, every criticism that you could give Roman, Balor is just as guilty as. But fans give Balor a pass. Roman doesn't have much of a character. Balor doesn't have much of a character. Roman's protected by Vince. Balor's protected by Triple H. Roman got the rocket up the ass. Balor got the rocket up the ass. Every criticism that fans hate about Roman, Balor's just as guilty of. But he gets a pass because of the demon and it looks cool, because of the Bullet Club and because of the Too Sweet and all that stuff. The fact that guys like Cedric Alexander...
Not to get into the Balor argument again, because it's going to bring back memories of douchebags that no longer work here.
Right.
But isn't it a case
what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to answer your question, what I'm trying to say is that Balor is getting a pass for a lot of stuff, and I got nothing personal against the guy. He's getting a pass for that, and he's also getting a pass for clearly, even despite the fact that he's a cruiserweight, he's getting a pass. He is getting a pass, and the problem for me is that nobody seems to give a shit. And I don't think that's a good environment if you work with WWE.
Would it be better if he was on SmackDown?
Yeah, absolutely, because SmackDown is more of a wrestling-based show. It's 2 hours. And if he was on...
He's out of sight, out of mind. No, because then those guys film 205 Live. You know what? I don't even think sending them to SmackDown is the issue. Where's the solution? Like, I look at it like this. I look at a guy like Tony Nese, who, like, 5-6 years ago, I was seeing in an indie here, and I mean, man, the guy looks like $1 million, and if he was maybe 2-3 inches taller, he'd probably be he's Vince's dream. He's Vince's dream. I mean, if he was like 2 or 3 inches tall, like he said, he would be like the world champion right now. So yeah. He's Vince's dream, and I just wonder if not. I mean, there's some guys who are clear-cut cruiserweights. Let's be fair, but like,
of course, guys like Tozawa.
I wonder if to a guy like Nese is just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. This guy's in the main event on Raw, and I think because Balor gets all these passes. I think, and I'm not referring to fans like ourselves, I think the fact that he's getting a pass, that is probably creating, and they're not, and they're probably keeping it in. But I think for the guys that are stuck in that division, it's probably rubbing them the wrong way. I wonder how many guys are looking at Balor like, I'm 10 pounds heavier than you, and I look like $1 million. The one that was worse was like that random Raw. It was like a random Raw. It was like, I think they did Balor versus Bray. And then, like, the very next segment was, like, Cedric and Kendrick in a match or something. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. The match where I think it was the match where Bray actually beat Balor because they were setting up Balor having to pull out like the demon.
It looked weird. Because
you're not even
Cedric
putting, Balor on at like 9 and then the cruiserweights on at like 10:15. You're putting Balor on at 9 and you're putting the cruiserweight segment on at like 9:17.
The only explanation I have is, the only reason I can think of is maybe, and this is not me trying to be insulting, because Raw is 3 hours, and when you see 3 hours every week, that's very tiring and that's exhausting. But despite all the stuff I said about Balor, he is not pushed as the main focus like Roman Reigns is. And so because Roman is pushed as the main focus, fans notice these criticisms I just mentioned. So perhaps if Balor was like, if they were to give Balor a Roman-like push, if they were to just like push him as strong as they're pushing Roman. Maybe more fans would notice this. Maybe they're just not noticing it, because if he's not being forced as the top guy, then it's not as noticeable. But I think the fact that he is getting a pass for all this stuff is quite possibly creating a negative environment, not for the fans, but for the people working the 205 division, because I totally agree with what you just said, 1,000%.
That's why I want to see
Tony
where
needs,
they go with these integrating other guys from NXT and the UK, and let's see who they bring in, and we go from there, and maybe it will kind of lessen it a little, but yeah, it's gonna be I've warmed up to your side of Balor over the last 6 months, only because now that he's working more of these top-level guys, like you see the difference with him and Cena. You see the difference with him and Wyatt.
There's no selling with him.
Roman's an exception because Roman's a big dude, and most guys are going to look small with Roman.
Roman sells, and I get shit for saying that. Roman reminds me of. I'll tell this. I'll stick with this. Roman selling reminds me of Brett, because when Brett sold, you thought he was getting his ass kicked. Roman sells the exact same way. Like when Nakamura gave him that Kinshasa, and Roman just got right up. Fans were like, "That's so." I'm like, "No, it's not." He hit him like out of nowhere. Like sometimes when people get knocked out but they're still standing. Like that was the kind of sell it was. Roman's a great seller. Like he was knocked out on his foot.
I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, Roman's not. I don't think Roman should be the guy. But I'm going to be dead honest. If anybody to sit there and say Roman can't work or Roman can't do this or Roman can't do that, you're wrong.
Right.
You're wrong.
Right.
His matches, his matches for the most part, excluding the last 2 minutes, which nobody likes because they know where it's going. But if you look at his matches more often than not are not terrible. I'm not saying they're great. I'm not saying they're 4.5, 5-star, whatever.
He's consistent. Right. You've actually motivated me to want to see Balor versus Miz, because the one thing that I'll give Miz that he gets, I think I would say he's not getting credit for it, but now fans are starting to turn around and give him credit for it. The one thing I'll give Miz is that he's really good at telling stories in his matches, working a body part or the false finishes and stuff of that nature. So I'm actually curious to see Balor versus Miz, because if Miz can't get psychology.
If Miz can go at WrestleMania, and I'm hinging this strictly on this, I think Braun's going to get slotted into the mixed tag, because from what I heard, Hollywood is filming a movie in May, and his insurance policy is not going to let him risk him getting hurt. I think it's going to be Braun. I think it's going to be Braun and Ronda, and I think it's going to be quick, and I think it's going to be exactly what people – here's what I think you're going to – and we'll wrap up on this real quick.
Okay.
I think what people have been asking for years is, I just want to see Stephanie and Triple H get their asses kicked. I think that's what this is going to be. From what I've heard, I was reading it the other day that plans for Ronda and Stephanie, whether it's a tag or a singles, basically are a glorified squash, which is fine.
Right.
So put Braun in that spot. I was terrified of the concept of Braun and Miz. Like, it made no sense to me. Like, why? But if Miz can go at Mania, I would do the Miz Taraj Balor Club at Elimination Chamber. I think you can get away with that. Then you put Gallows and Anderson in the tag title picture for Mania against the Bar. Maybe the Revival gets involved. And then you could do Miz Balor at Mania. And I think if Balor held the Intercontinental title and went on to a series of matches with Miz, and then maybe started working a program, maybe even with Ambrose, with Rollins, maybe eventually even with a Cesaro, I think that would be okay. The occasional, maybe a cruiserweight guy gets an IC title shot every, on a Raw. I think that would help lessen it. I think the problem is that right now you look at Balor and you look at a guy who could easily be inserted into a main event title picture, and then you get a guy like Tony Nese, And I think that's where it's
the
like,
problem.
what the fuck?
Right. That's the problem. Cedric Alexander is bigger than him. Tony Nese is bigger than him.
Right.
Now some of the cruiserweights are exactly that, like, you know, Tozawa, T.J. Perkins, Brian Kendrick, and, you know, some of them.
Yeah,
it's like you look at them and you're like,
guys,
okay.
Gallagher, those are cruiserweights. I'm sorry, you're nothing else, but you're a cruiserweight at the end of the day. You know.
Right.
But you're right.
The Balor thing is definitely.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's definitely there. I didn't think about that, the club against the Mr. Raj. That would be a good idea. I'd be for that.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see, you know, maybe on a Raw you get a random Miz Balor match, Axel and Dallas get involved, and, of course, Gallows and Anderson make the save, and, you know, because, you know, I think they're really, I like I said to you, and I would be shocked if at 11:13 the night after Raw, if Balor's not a heel. I would just be shocked because I think he's gonna go. I think he's gonna snap a little, and he's gonna be like, "I'm done waiting for my rematch. I'm fucking taking it."
I think he could even be a creepy heel because he notice that since the club has been with him, he's smiling way too much. You notice that?
But I feel like that's almost like a setup. Like, hi, yeah, now I'm going to fucking kill you. Like, I think kind of like they're setting something up with him, that he's going to be like this, you know, whatever guy. Yeah, I can see that.
I hope the kids don't take it too hard.
That's the only thing is, like, how do you turn him with the demon?
You don't involve the demon. As from what I remember, when he was the heel in the Bullet Club, there was no demon. He only did that when he was a face. I mean, they could always improvise. They could improvise, but I mean, I could be wrong, but
thing, like,
yeah. Because what he would do is, like, he would work a heel, and like Balor, he would work and like Gallows, Anderson, or like whoever was part of the Bullet Club would like interfere in his match. Basically, he was a cruiserweight Miz. That's what he was. He was a cruiserweight Miz, and that was fine. Like that was what he was. He was a cruiserweight Miz, where he would work matches, and then when he was getting ready to lose, someone would interfere. And then as his contract began to expire, at the time, he started experimenting with the tattoos and the makeup, and he just started, like, having these different, like, looks to him. Like, he would have, like, a Joker demon, a Daredevil demon, what's that guy? Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. He was had a Deadpool demon. Right, and it was really cool, and it was really marketable, and he had, like, a match with Neville at some point. Triple H saw it, and then he got signed. And from the get-go, I feel like from the very beginning, they never really understood.
All right, Chris,
like,
it's going to cut off. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, I'll talk to you next week.
All right, later.
All right, later.